live stream. So as soon as this little thing loads up, we'll be live. Test.
The March 4th, 2025 City of Smithville Planning and Zoning meeting has been called to order. Notice is hereby given pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, Vernon and Civil Statute Article 6252-17, that the City of Smithville will conduct a planning and zoning meeting on March 4th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the City Council chambers located at 317 Main Street, Smithville, Texas. My name is Garrett Gutierrez. I'm the chairman of the Planning and Zoning here in Smithville, and I'll let my colleagues introduce myself, starting on my right, your left.
Lee Kilgore.
Caroline Noya,
Nancy Catherman.
Philip Slaughter.
First item on the agenda is discussion and action on approval of minutes from the February 4th meeting. Did everybody have a chance to look at those? Anybody have any questions on those minutes?
No. I'd move to approve the planning and zoning minutes from January 7th, 2025.
I have a motion to approve them. I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Item 3, discussion and action on a 401 square foot minimum lot size variance request at 201 Gaisley Street, Smithville City Original Town Site, Block 66, Lot 1, property ID 20120. Property owner Sweeney Projects LLC, agent Logan Sweeney. Do we have anybody signed up to speak on this one?
No, so no one from the public signed up to speak for or against.
Is Mr. Sweeney here? Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Sweeney while he's here? I'd like to take this time, if y'all would have any questions, to just ask questions, specifics, and not any feelings or thoughts. So if anybody has those, he's here to answer those. No questions for Mr. Sweeney. Open it up for discussion amongst ourselves. If anybody's got any comments they want to make about it. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Does he have a presentation to make?
I have a question for him. I'm sorry. I know which lot this is, but the lot at the other end of that block, is that also your property? It is actually on MLK.
Correct.
Is that your property too?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we're talking about the property on the other side of the house that was there.
Right, on the corner of ML.
You have a plan? I know you're not asking for it, but just out of curiosity
I don't have any plans for that lot.
for that lot?
No.
Okay,
So this is the only one I have plans for at this time.
okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
Lee, did you have something you would want to ask him?
what is currently on the lot?
Nothing is on the lot at this time.
And you feel like the only thing that you can do is put a house on it because it's 6,099 square feet. We're short 401 square feet for a minimum standard. And you've identified it as wanting to put affordable housing. And is that the reason then that you're not meeting the current ordinance of minimum lot size for single family at 6,500 square feet?
I believe that's correct.
You're currently zoned C2. Are you wanting to go to SF1?
That's the use that I'm intending for it, which is covered under C2.
Yeah. Okay. Could you go to the color-coded map? Thank you. Two parking places, one affordable house.
Just one of the potential uses, one or the other.
What are these? What are the,
So there are parking, but the way it states there, potential driveways will only use one, so he could have the options there.
okay, heard.
They come off
What
the
is that?
alley.
Ah, got it. Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Is that not the car?
That's the sidewalk drawn in. The guardrail is shown, it's got the blue line right by it, I believe.
I guess my question is, we haven't really discussed, what are they called? AEUs, affordable dwelling units, ADUs? We haven't really discussed that as an ordinance to say, this is what we want to do. If this is just going to be, if this is going under that guideline, then we're making a decision as a guideline for that. Otherwise, we're still within the, you want to change the lot size to allow a SF1 with no predetermined.
I don't believe he's asking for
Discussion.
SF1. SF1 can go under just about.
Under C2? Act like I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, so this is just the variance to
Just for the,
be able to build a house on a
Okay.
little bit smaller lot. So
Understood.
the lots were cut up that way back whenever. Um,
Okay, thank you.
So I, just to make it clear and make sure I read everything right, since you're here, you're asking for that, but then you will follow all other.
yes, so all the
Ordinances.
current standards are in place with the house that I plan to build on it. I had it drawn up just to fit that lot, so it would be within all current standards.
Excuse me, can you speak up just a little bit?
It's a
Thank you.
single-story home,
Yes, ma'am.
and that's what you intend to build?
Correct.
Okay.
Did you hear that or do you need to get him?
Pardon?
Did you hear that or do you need me to get him?
No, I heard it.
No, what he had said right before that when you asked him to speak up.
I heard a little bit. I have a clawed deer right
No,
now.
no, all
I'm
good.
Sorry.
All good. So he just answered that he intends to follow all other ordinances if this is approved.
Yeah.
So side yard setback, front yard setback, maximum lot coverage and all that.
Well, I've been out to the site and walked it, as have several of the other members. And I would make a motion that we refer to a recommendation to the city council. Just a minute, gotta get this all read right. To approve the action of a 401 square foot minimum lot size variance request for 201 Gasly Street, Smithville. City original town site, block 66, lot 1, property ID 20120. Property owner Sweeney Projects LLC, agent Logan Sweeney. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 4-1. Thank you, Mr. Sweeney.
This next one.
All right, the next item on the agenda is discussion and action for a variance request to reduce the interior side yard setback to 5 feet for both single-story and two-story structures instead of the required 7.5 foot for 1 story, 10 foot for 2-story buildings for Block A, Lot 5, Block A, Lot 6, Block A, Lot 10, Block A, Lot 11, Block A, Lot 12, Block A, Lot 13, Block A, Lot 14, Block A, Lot 16, Block A, Lot 17, Block A, Lot 18, Block A, Lot 19, Block A, Lot 20, Block A, Lot 21, Block A, Lot 22, Block A, Lot 23, Block A, Lot 24, Block A, Lot 25, Block A, Lot 27, Block A, Lot 28, Block A, Lot 29, Block A, Lot 30, Block A, Lot 31, Block A, Lot 32, Block A, Lot 33, Block A, Lot 34, Block A, Lot 35, Block A, Lot 36, Block A, Lot 38, Block A, Lot 42, Block C, Lot 74, Block C, Lot 77, Block C, Lot 78, Block C, Lot 79, in the enclave at Riverbend subdivision, property ID 8725657, legal description ABS A 16 Burleson Edward, 34.858 acres, property owner Smithville Land Partners LLC, agent Bethany Ross. Do we have anybody signed up to speak on this one?
No one signed up to speak for or against, sir.
And is there representation from the enclave here tonight? So if somebody has questions.
Yes, they are here.
Okay, I'll open it up to questions for the folks at Enclave. Once again, please keep it to just specific questions and not thoughts and feelings. We'll have time for that when we open it up for discussion amongst ourselves.
I have a question. Is somebody going to make a presentation about this or no? Before I ask a question, that's what I'm asking.
Mr. McCullough is coming up.
Hello, Commissioners. So if you recall, last time we were here, we asked for a variance that covered everything. And we were just trying to avoid you having to read all this, but no. I think there was concern from what we understood from you as a commission, and also as speaking with you individually, some of you individually. I think the major concern was that you were granting a blanket variance that you were uncomfortable with. So we went back and we had our engineer and we looked at every single lot individually and said, which of these lots need what variances in order to be able to fit a 40-foot product. This is the overall arching reason for this. And I think if you recall, our last discussion was we were just trying to, there's been a concern from the city council and from other members of the community that they want variability in this subdivision. So we're trying to give as much options and to build different sizes of houses. So we're trying to make it where a 40-foot product can fit on every single lot. So we broke it down lot by lot as to what each lot needs in order to make that possible. So this particular one, item number 4, if you look at the exhibit that's on the screen right now that all of you have as part of your packet, you'll see that the bottom, and I don't have my glasses with me, but the bottom one is we have 73 lots now that require no changes on a single story that fit 40-foot product. So a majority of the subdivision fits the 40-foot product already. And so we have 73 lots that we don't need any adjustment on a single story. We have 33 lots that require us to go to a 5-foot setback. And then we have 8 lots that go from a 7.5 to a 7-foot setback. So we've really broken it down where this is more lot specific now as to what variances we need in order to fit a 40-foot product in every single lot. This also includes the ability to put 2-story houses as well. I'm still not sure with my conversations with you if there's a concern that we're putting 2-story houses or if there's not a concern. So either way, we do have a representative from D.R. Horton here tonight who is available to answer questions for you. But speaking with him, in similar markets, they found in similar sized markets around Central Texas area, they found that single story tends to sell better, and they typically don't put a lot of 2 stories in there in these type of markets. But they want the flexibility to be able to do so if necessary. So we are also asking on this variance request for the ability to do two-story houses that are 40-foot wide as well.
Okay, the question I have is about the variance request. Is it contrary to the public interest? And then it says, are there any special conditions affecting the property? You said yes, but there's nothing written what the special conditions are.
Well, I think the special conditions are the configuration of this land and the codes that are already adopted and as part of the city of Smithville just kind of handcuffs us in a lot of ways as far as being able to make it where we can do 40-foot lots or excuse me, 40-foot product on all the lots.
So I'd like to piggyback off that question then with that answer. Knowing what the ordinance were and the codes were you the one that came up with the design and the plat that has been approved?
Actually, that's a great question. We threw out, and I'm just telling you like it is. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus or anything. We threw out 3 or 4 options to the city, to city staff, and said, here are some different configurations, because they were concerned about it looking too cookie cutter and et cetera, et cetera. And they said, this is the one we like. So we said, then we'll go with that one.
But along the same lines, I guess what I'm asking is, if you knew that 40-foot across the front houses were what's the norm, why not make less lots, bigger lots?
We did not know at the time until we got a builder under contract. So this was all done before we got a builder under contract. And once we got the builder under contract, then they said, well, when we were investigating, I'm sorry, and going, talking about going under contract, we were talking about what kind of product they wanted to put there. So to answer your question, we didn't know what type of product and what builder was going to go there when we were actually doing the engineering and designing the subdivision. And once they came with the product that they wanted to put, that they thought would be most marketable and most appropriate for this market, that's where, when we did what's called a lot fit, when they start seeing if their product will fit on all the lots, that's where we came up with the issues that we're coming up with.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
The teal green very top, single story, 2-story, requiring 5-foot interior side yard setback adjustment needed 33 lots.
Mm-hmm.
That allows for a single story at 5 feet, and that's what you're asking for pretty much across the board. All single-family homes, single-story homes will be 5-foot setback on either side.
For the most part, yes, except for the second one has 7-foot setbacks.
Okay, so the fact that the first block in the legend also includes 2-story homes, that is a concern of mine.
Okay.
If you were, is D.R. Horton able to strike that from the plan so that it is only single story at 5-foot setback?
At 5-foot setbacks.
Mhm.
I mean, we're asking for this, and
Okay.
open to hearing what you guys would like to see.
Because what you've also asked, you've asked for 3 different designs, essentially. One would be everything at a 5-foot setback. 8 lots, and those are, the 8 lots really aren't the largest lots here, but it's also a 7-foot interior side yard setback for single and 2-story. So we're modifying, so with the 10-foot setback on 2-story houses, you're modifying to either a 7.5 and now you've got some 7s. But with that very first bullet point in the legend, you're also allowing for a 5-foot setback.
Correct.
And that is not consistent in terms of what we've talked about being an allowable variance that we could get behind.
Okay. Understand? So what you're saying is,
Question, I don't even know.
no, I think you did. I think, well, it's more of a comment, and I
Okay.
think what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think what you're saying is you're okay generally with the single story side setback variance generally, but not a 2-story 5-foot setback.
Correct, or really a 7-foot. I'm comfortable with 7.5 coming off of a 10.
Okay, on a two-story,
Mhm.
on the, you're not
Yes, sir.
with 7 as well?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Any other questions?
And I think that would just,
No
I think what.
Questions specifically on that for, excuse me, just for that, and then we'll have discussion amongst ourselves for anything else that you want to put out there.
Yeah, I think what you're asking for is just, all that's going to do is just restrict being able to put a two-story product on lots.
It does, but I think that you have, as we discussed in the last meeting, you've got enough properties that 61%, when your plat was presented in January, 61% of those lots were greater than 6,500 square feet. So large enough. Width-wise, maybe not so much. But when we're talking about density, houses being sandwiched together, your plat that you presented for this month, square footage, lot size changed. And it's no longer the same square footage that you had when we talked about in January. So lots of different things have changed. And for us to understand, it's not like we're taking your plat from January and applying the same request for 5 foot, 7 foot, 7.5. That's,
Okay, I believe this is the same plat that we presented in January. It's just,
not according to the numbers that were submitted in your tables.
we've gone back and just gone lot specific on what we need instead of a blanket variance.
That's not what I saw in the plats.
Okay,
Maybe that this plat, you're rounding, and therefore that's the data that I put into the spreadsheet to identify where it was questionable. If it was 6,501 versus 6,500, I gave it a
so you meant
6,500.
maybe some slight adjustments is where you're saying.
There are some slight adjustments.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, that is the case.
But there are significant numbers that changed
Because
from
I
what
think our
you
engineer
submitted
was
in
trying
January.
to, hey, we've got a little room on this lot.
Yes.
And we need extra room on this lot, so move some lines here and there, yeah, to get 40-foot product as much as he possibly could,
And I
without having to ask for variance on a single story
Right.
setback.
Gotcha.
So yes, you're right, you're correct there.
Okay.
Yes.
It would be easier to make decisions if we understood where on your plat you were going to have 2-story versus 1-story, because if you are going to put all 2 stories, say for instance, in section A on the back next to the detention,
Mhm.
you've got a whole row of houses there. They could all be 2-story. They all know they're 2-story. They're tight, they're good. And they're going to be tight neighbors, right?
Right,
Versus in your center, E and D, those are bigger lots, and single story there would give you a feel that you've got more room.
all right.
You are not at a 5-foot setback where my wingspan is 6 feet, right? So the variation is doable. We just don't know where you're doing it.
And I don't either, and I don't think DR is either,
Can we hear from?
because they don't typically identify, they come in and they build a certain, well, I should let him speak, Ben speak, but they typically build a number of houses and then they find out what the market is wanting. If there's a big demand for the single stories, they're going to keep building single stories. But Ben, if you want to speak to this, Ben McKeska with DR Horton.
Hi, Commissioners. I'm Ben McKeska, the Land Acquisition Manager. Oh, sorry. Okay. I'm the Land Acquisition Manager for DR Horton, San Marcos Division. And so helping and working with Todd on bringing bringing a DR Horton community to Smithville. But to Todd's point, we still, right now, as we're working through this, we have a plan and we try to have as much variability on product size that we would like to bring to this community. When we go into markets, we've gone into the Luling market, Martindale, Navarro, we're currently in Bastrop and building. And so when we come in, we like to have as much knowledge of what we would like to build on the front end, but majority of the time we come in and we realize what people are wanting to see and what type of housing people would like to see and what sells correctly and what people would like to live in the Smithville market and the markets we go into. So to Todd's point, the flexibility of having those setbacks allows us to be able to build a product that people want to have in the Smithville market. We're currently not building in Smithville, and we haven't seen any of the builder at our class going to or in Smithville currently. So we want to bring a great community to Smithville, and we think Smithville is a amazing town to bring one to. But we would just like the flexibility to make sure we can build the product that best fits this market. So.
Hi. Can you allocate the 33 lots that are a 5-foot setback
Mhm.
to single story and have, because the reason you can hardly see that map, but this lovely rendition,
Yes.
you've got some blues, right? Those are the 8 lots that are single story, no setback, 2-story, 7.5 feet, right? So you're at 5 feet on your singles, you're at 7.5. You've only got 8 of those in this subdivision. If you are actually, to me, this plat means this is how you've designed it. So you've decided that the blue ones are the ones that you are definitely going to go at 7.5 feet for a side yard setback. And then our single stories, that's for this 2 stories, our single stories are going to be at 5 feet.
Yeah, and I do want to say, I think to Todd's point as well, is the variance that he is requesting allows us the flexibility to build a single story on every single lot possible. If that is something that we see, and that is something that we do see in some of these markets that we go into, is a single story farmhouse product does really well, and we can build a great home with a 2-car garage with that in those communities. And so I would like to say our intent is to build single stories, but when it comes to it and our sales and marketing team starts looking in this community and starts doing further market research, they may think that it sells better, that a 2-story product sells better. And it may show when we start selling in this community, and the report that we get back from everybody that comes in is, I would love to have a 2-story house. Then we would like the optionality to go to the 2-story house. And so,
I would like the ability to say single story houses at 5 feet, 2-story houses at 7.5, whatever that mix is that you're going to do, that you're not putting, because your 33 houses that you've identified in the first legend
mhm,
allow a 2-story house to be at 5 feet.
yes.
And that is not, that's what I want to know. What is your flexibility in removing 2-story from that bullet?
So, and just to make sure I understand, so the concern is having a 2-story house
At
on a lot that
5-foot
has a 5-foot
setback.
setback.
Yes, sir.
And is the concern that the house would be too big, or?
Smushed in, because now you're going 2 stories versus single story. Single story, you can kind of get away with it. It's still a tight product on a 50-foot wide square foot lot.
Mhm.
You're building a 40-foot. You have some lots in here that aren't even 50-foot. So yes, I'm asking you whether or not you, as a builder, have flexibility to any 2-story houses you build have a 7.5 or 7, we'll talk about it on the council, but 7.5 or 7-foot setback, and that your single stories are all 5 feet.
And we definitely have that flexibility. I mean, and so on our typical communities that we look at, on a lot of these markets we go into, on a 50-foot wide lot, we build a 40-foot wide product. On a 45-foot wide lot, we build a 35-foot wide product. And so we have 30-foot wide product, 35-foot wide product. And so we have the flexibility, and we can build that and have those in 2 stories. To the next further point is, what I get told by our sales and marketing team all the time is, the larger the house, the more flexibility we have, the more bedrooms we can have, the more creative we can get with some of the house plans. When you start doing a 2-story product, it becomes a similar type of house. And because of the way that it's set up, and it's because with the smaller width that the house has, there, you can only get so creative with the amount of square footage that's available on a smaller width house. And so with the larger width, we have more room. We can add on a fourth bedroom. We can add on a study. We can be more flexible with the layout of the kitchen and the living room. And so that's the reasoning behind it, is that, but there's a very high likely chance that we are going to build all single stories in this community. But to make sure we hit the market and make sure we bring a great community to Smithville, we want the flexibility to potentially build a 2-story as well. So, but to answer your question, on a 40-foot wide lot, we typically just build single stories typically. And then when on the 35-foot width house, that is when we do build a 2-story, because you have to go vertical because you run out of square feet. And so we definitely have the flexibility to do it if it did answer your question. Yep, of course.
Question directly too, and I think Ben did, but if it means, denying the entire thing or me not being able to build 2 stories on 33 lots, I'd rather have that than being denied the entire. Does that answer your question directly then? Okay.
So just because you get, or you may or may not get the variance, does that mean you will always build all of them to the maximum, or might some of them be smaller?
Not necessarily.
I need a yes or no answer.
Yeah, no, not necessarily. That means we're not gonna build necessarily to the maximum on every single lot. I mean, again, it comes down to, trying to meet the market. Yeah. Just want the flexibility to be able to build as many different products on as many different lots as we can.
And just real quick, I'd like to ask what Ben's last name was.
Casca.
Can you come over here and spell that?
All right, if there's no other questions for the developer or the builder, I'll open it up to discussion amongst ourselves. Discussion, I haven't, not a motion yet, just
No,
discussion.
just discussion, right? Okay, so we have a lot of variances that have been approved for side yard setbacks. The idea is that floating around is that we would do a 5-foot setback for a single story, and we could move from a 10-foot to a 7.5 foot. I'd like to know the commissioner's opinion on that.
My concern is always but safety, the fire houses being so close to safety, fire trucks, ambulances, having to get in between if there's a fire. If there's a 2-story house and you only have a 7-foot setback, is that enough to fight the fire on the second floor with the 7-foot versus the 10-foot? That's my main concern. That and drainage, being how much of the lot is being covered. But that's the next item, so.
Can we come back up and ask a question, please? When we first talked about this, you had indicated that you were going to keep corner lots with the 15-foot setback.
Yes.
By approving this the way it's written, that mitigates and removes that. And that's not acceptable because of exactly what Caroline talked about, Commissioner Noya, because that is visibility on streets coming out into the main thoroughfares. You've got 21 lots. If we count lot 36 in the top corner as a corner, I don't know. We do have 21 lots that are corner lots and need to have that setback at 15 feet.
Yeah, I think there's a plat note on there that says single-family lots 114 zoning rules applied, 15-foot side setback, side street setback. So that continues to apply on the corner.
So you would not apply this?
on the
Thank you.
corner.
I did have a question about that. I'm
Sure.
raising that question.
So help me understand that one there. The note, single family lots, 104, so 114 of them with the area greater than 6,500 or more. So if it's a little less than 6,500,
So what happened in January is we had 61% of the lots that were greater than 6,500 square feet. 6,500 square feet is the minimum lot size for SF1. When we moved to March of 25, which is today, there's now 55% of the lots that are greater than 6,500 square feet. So we have reduced the number of lots that meet the 6,500 square foot minimum lot size.
I guess my concern is by the color coded map that we have in front of us. For instance, lot 22. If we approve that, you're saying 5 yard, that's 5 foot on both sides. So that doesn't hold into the spirit of the ordinance for our corner lot.
So what that does, Todd has just said that corner lot will stay with a side yard setback of 15 feet on that corner lot. We need to blow up the map?
And if that's the case, why did they ask for the 5 foot setback on that side?
I don't know.
And I think that's where my concern comes, is there's just so much there that could be used against the city at some point if they really wanted to. And I hate to say that, but that's the world we live in today.
Bethany just noted, and I should have said something, but if you'll notice, it says the request to reduce the interior side on our variance request. It's the interior side setbacks. Corner lots do not apply. Yeah, it's only on interior lots. Yeah, well, thank you, Bethany. Yeah, so it's already there in the variance that corner lots don't apply to this.
Thank you.
Okay, I do have, I'll make them like more of a comment. I would have liked to have seen, instead of these variances.
Talk to us up here.
Excuse me?
For your comments, please talk to us amongst ourselves up here. Out loud, but
I am. Do you want me to yell? I'm
whatever
a
you
big
need,
yeller.
whatever you need to do.
Now you've taken me off my nice way of approaching something. I have felt through the beginning of, not that first beginning of it, but the first plat that you brought that was approved, that we sent on. And now, last month, you wanted to change the variances on every lot. There's a reason why there are variances. And one of the reasons there are variances is safety. I would like more than, say, for example, if it's a 7-foot setback on the side, I would like probably a little bit more than that, because particularly if my neighbor is going to adhere to that. That's 14 feet between houses. And there's such a thing that we have around here. It's called fires. That's a huge concern to me. And right now, what is around that land is a highway and also a lot of raw land can go up like that. So getting to my point is, in some ways, I wish after the last meeting, when you wanted to change a blanket variance on all the property, all the lots. I wish you would have, I guess, I wish that you would have rescinded the initial plat and send us a new one with all the changes you want on it. It's a whole lot easier for people to understand, and none of the people up here are stupid or out there are stupid. They're sitting, y'all are sitting there going like, okay, okay. Now we have to use the color coded. Can you please hand me your drawing? For us to tell what our one-story homes and what are two-story homes. Isn't that going to be fun? Particularly for the city building inspector who has to go out and verify and check that all of those are meeting the criteria. It wasn't that long ago, several meetings ago, the council had to fine a builder for not adhering to the setbacks. And those were the front setbacks. I just think we have to do everything to avoid doing that. And one way we could have done it is for this plan, which is totally different from the original plan. They're pretty drastically changed. You might have the same street layouts, but what you're talking about is the internal, and it's just, I just have a problem with that. I think it would have been much neater. Yes, Smithville has dealt with developers before and builders. I don't know that recently, Jack could probably tell me that there's been a project this large. There hasn't been. So we're on a learning curve too. We want to make it easier for you, but also easier for us. And I wish that last meeting, instead of coming, I wish you would have come back with a new plat and just said, this is, we want to withdraw the other plat and this is the plat we want. Because there's been so many changes that you can't keep track of. You probably can. And Lee probably can, because she's good at that type of thing, that have gone on back and forth. And variances, to have a blanket variance is, I just have a problem with it. I am not opposed to wealth, or am I opposed to growth? But this is going to be on the highway. People are going to see it. And I'm sure you do too, want it to be eye-catching so you can sell the properties. But I just have several concerns, and my concerns are for the city and the responsibility that they are going to be taking on with all of this also. And I understand there's some other things that y'all have talked to the city about, but I will also clarify this. I'm not a native. I've lived here over 50 years, but I'm still a newcomer. So that's what you're hearing from a newcomer. I had no problem with the original plan. I have some real concerns, most of which involve safety. Safety of the distances. And when you start working and changing the setbacks, particularly between the homes, that's an alarm to me. Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
all I have to say.
Philip, do you have any comment? I just want to put it out there. I do have some comments as well for my colleagues. On here, it says, is the variance request contrary to the public interest? The answer was no. From what I've heard from other citizens and especially in the neighborhood next to this property, I don't know that that's actual factual. A bunch of people are concerned with what's going to move in right next to them and what it's going to look like. So public interest is their ears are perked, they are watching, they are looking. So are there any special conditions affecting the property? Yes. Please explain. The builder is limited to the product that that they can offer to the future potential residents. Yes, but that's not an issue for the city. We didn't develop the property. We didn't draw the lot lines. We didn't say that they were going to be this size or that size. I don't know how that's a hardship. That's self-inflicted hardship. Will the spirit of the ordinance be observed and will substantial justice be done by granting it? Yes. Overall, the execution of the subdivision is remaining the same. This would allow additional products offering a variability. I don't get on board with that. It's not observed. Our ordinances are written today to have a front yard, side yard, backyard setback. There is a difference between a two-story and a single story. We have that difference written in there today. In the way this is written here, you're wanting single or two-story at 5 foot, and that doesn't keep in spirit of the ordinance because you're only doing one variance on setback on that particular lot, and the ordinances go by the lot, right? You can say, oh, within the plat, there's some variances, like there's a 7-foot setback on a single or two-story, but it's by the lot, right? So I feel like, in my opinion, that a single-story or two-story house at 5 foot is not in spirit of our ordinance, right? So I get it. I get that this was developed in a way that it's gonna put more homes in Smithville, but I don't understand why we should bend and break our ordinances to match what the builder wants. Make a product that will fit on what's there or make the lots bigger. That's my personal opinion of it. Any other comments or concerns? I'll entertain a motion. Well, the session for comments was already passed, so from the citizens, and there was nobody signed up, so.
Can I make one more comment?
I'll go ahead.
Okay. Just wanted to, I know there's been talk about the concern about and they're valid concerns, I understand it. But there's also been talk about making this look the best that it can look. And this is in the spirit of that completely. This doesn't do us, this doesn't benefit me one single bit. And it only benefits the builder from the standpoint of being able to provide more product. That's it. It's going to make a nicer, subdivision than if we don't have the variance. And that's just, that's true. So I'm kind of hearing two different things, and I get it. But one, the variance is going to make this a nicer place. This variance is going to make this a nicer place, a nicer subdivision. You specifically said it's on the highway, everybody's going to see it. This variance is like I said, this doesn't benefit me any at all. I don't make another dime. It doesn't benefit me any. And it doesn't benefit the builder any, other than it allows him or them to be able to build more options for the market. That's it. And it's going to be, and more options is going to be more availability. It's going to be a nicer looking subdivision. And that's just the actual fact about it. And so everything that was said about, the changes and that was all in the spirit of trying to make this the best place that it could be. No benefit to me whatsoever, and no benefit to the builder other than being able to provide additional variability and additional products. So we understand your concerns. They're all valid as far as it, but if you back up and look at it from the forest for the trees, it's making this a better place to live and a nicer looking subdivision is what the spirit of this whole thing was all about.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to ask too, on this exhibit that was here where it says like Block A, I just want to make sure that Lee Kilgore, what she was saying earlier, this says Block A, Lot 1, 7,499 square and 0.15 feet, right, square foot. But in January, on that table, Lot 1, Block A, Lot 1 says 7,799. Is that what you're talking about?
7,499.
So does that mean the lot lines moved? Because if lot lines move, then we have to replat. I just want to make sure that we're all understanding. I'm just making sure that we're all understanding. That's what she was getting at.
Mhm.
And if those lot lines did move, then we have to replat before
We can approve.
we could
the
move on
variance.
any of these. Yes.
Yeah, so that's absolutely what I'm saying. I have the Excel files. I have what we presented that with yes or no, whether or not the square footage changed. And if it changed only by, there's some that are 6,500, 6,501, 6,502, benefit of the doubt, made it 6,500, so it did not show a change. But there are definitely significant changes in the amount of square footage. The final square footage, so total square footage in January's meeting was 1,199,576. In March, we've got 1,203,336. We've got an increase of 3,760 in square footage. So there's a variance in terms of plats. If you're going to be going back, I guess if we go to just council discussion, and this is a place to have it, if we're looking at creating a subdivision, if I think about where the subdivision is and where Herta Estates is, two very distinct, different subdivisions. One huge square footage, custom homes, do build what you want, how you want. I look at this subdivision as our first foray into medium level homes that are affordable for teachers, school and teachers are the same thing. Police, fire, etc., and city employees for that matter. Whether they work here, if they want to live here in this fantastic town and drive to somewhere else like Bastrop to work, fantastic. But it allows them an entry level home. If we look at the lot sizes, single story homes at 5 feet and 2-story homes at 7.5 feet, that to me is a reasonable expectation for entry-level housing. The drainage has to be identified through our civil engineers, and because we have changed everything, the idea when it was first presented was you over-engineered for detention. So we have to assume on council, on commission, what do we call them? That, that's been done. So I think if we're going back to look at this again and allow variability in the type of home, because frankly, your 5-foot setback is really the exterior of this subdivision. That's where you could put your 2 stories, right? 1 stories. But it allowed the 2 stories. So it's the exterior realm and on the interiors where you've got a 7'5" side yard setback for 2 stories. And that to me makes sense. So whatever. Not going to tell D.R. Horton how to build a subdivision, but I think that it allows enough flexibility that it achieves what the city of Smithville wants. End of discussion. So Tracy, if we have to go back to replat, then we null and void the rest of the meeting, call it and start over.
I'm not a city official. I am a clerk. I would say that if lot lines are moving and it's not the original plat that it was, then we can't act on something that hasn't been moved on and approved.
I'm not a city official either. So who makes that call?
Y'all do. Y'all can make the call. I mean, I would think if there's no action and it needs to come back.
If there's no action, we got to come back. But if it has to be replatted, we have to come back. If we don't come back, to me, I still have a problem with 2-story and the 5-foot. If it was just 1 story with the 5-foot, I still don't care for it from a safety standpoint. But for 2-story with a 5-foot, I really would have to object to that one.
I think that, you know, it feels like to me, and this is just a feeling, and I'm sure other citizens have the same feeling. When you start throwing them 5 foot apart though, and I get it, it gives you more option for product or whatever. But at the end of the day, you're building houses that are all very similar and you're shoving as many of them as close together as you can. And that's the feeling I get with it. We do, and it's been said many times on council, why do we have ordinances if we're not going to stick by them? The city hasn't changed those ordinances. If they need to be changed, then powers that be at the city need to change them so we don't have these arguments every time something comes in here and wants to be built. But, you know, Robert said before, precedence doesn't matter, but I'm telling you right now, if we approve this as is at 5 foot, single story or not, every subdivision that comes in is going to be like that. And maybe that's what the citizens of Smithville want. I don't get that feeling. But for those reasons, I'm not sure I can get on board with making any of these suggestions. But it still would be open for a vote. But if the plat is not right,
Well, and I just want to say that we're not at our desk or anything. It's something that, and this is just exhibits that was given last month to this month. I would need time to go back and make sure that that's why I asked Mr. McCullough, but maybe it's just a matter of the one that was used last time, you know, isn't the right one. I would have to do research on that to feel more comfortable with. But I will say that if lines have moved, then all this wouldn't matter anyway, because that wouldn't be the plat that we're talking about.
but what was presented to the commission and what was presented in the packet that was approved for the meeting is varies from what we see today. So if that's the case, then yes, we do need to look at it.
And we would have
And it may
time.
very well be a clerical error.
Yes,
but-
and then we would have the time because council would be next Monday, so that would give us time, not only us, but our applicants as well, to make sure that we have it all correct. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
So then you're saying we should still vote on this as is if it is or no, or, because if we don't vote on it and it goes to council
They make a decision.
Monday,
I,
go ahead, Jeff.
Speak it.
Has the lot lines changed? I guess that would be the first question.
Microphone.
From what was presented in January,
Yeah, Jack, I need to
And that's-
verify with my engineer.
yeah,
so it might be best to
Yeah.
withdraw.
If you're telling me that you've done the math and you see it, then I would assume that they have moved.
Yeah. And Tracy showed us the packet from,
To that point, this plat does not show, the first one showed 54 point whatever square foot front line and the side yard, 119 square feet, right? This one doesn't show those lot. What it shows is the dimension of your house, what you're going to build, which we don't know whether it includes a garage, driveway, et cetera. It is just, if you can blow that up, it's just a blue line, green line, or a teal color line, right? So, but in your teeny tiny print up there, that's where I pulled the numbers and did the same thing in January as I did for this meeting. So those numbers are different.
I imagine he pulled the dimensions off there just as a layer because it made it all cluttered. So I imagine
Yeah.
he was doing it for that purpose.
so you have that, we have that other one. Go ahead, Jack.
what Robert was saying is, Todd, if and so the lot lines have changed, then you would need to come back with a replat. And I think that's something, at this point, I don't see that we can really make any recommendations or anything until we verify if them lot lines have changed. Because if we have a plat that was submitted and them, the square footage got changed, then we need to have an accurate plat of what we're looking at, so.
Yeah, and to that point, I got to commend Commissioner Kilgore for finding that. It's in our packet here today. That's in front of us, that's submitted, that was approved, that came out Friday. We have this one and the one that's colored into Commissioner Kilgore's point. The one that's below has, the front lot line width and the side yard length and all that. So we have two different plats in front of us here that have two different things, saying two different things in this packet for this meeting. So I missed that. But we worked together as a team, and I think that it was ultimately caught, and I don't think we can make a motion to do anything from number 4, 5, 6, or 7, and that it'll need to be addressed at a later time. So do we need to make a motion?
Well, that's what I'm
to-
saying. So maybe it's either tabled or Mr. McCullough decides to withdraw for right now.
Yeah.
It-
I'm surprised because my engineer knows, so I just need to, I need to talk to him. I mean, he knows, he's a very competent, experienced engineer. So, I will just have to ask him.
If we table, and I know that and it may not be a big deal to him or not, but if he pulls it, then he has to pay the fee again. Tracy, is that correct? If he pulls it, then I'm sure there's some type of fee that comes with reapplying.
It would be the application fee, but if it's denied and then it goes through council and denied, then there's the whole, you have to wait a year to ask again.
Yeah, yeah. But if we table it, how long do we have, and does that fee apply again?
Well, if it's tabled, I don't think there would be a fee because you're asking them to come back. It's not, now if he withdraws it and it has to be replatted and all that, then that's a different route. Replat is a different route, period.
Question for the chairperson. Can we table it until April without any ramifications to the clock and permitting fees, application fees?
I mean, I would be willing to to table it and not have to pay the fees again, right? And I think that,
And come back in April.
and come back in April, but I don't know those rules. And I definitely don't want to do something that's going to get
Right.
us or the city into a bind.
You got a question out to Robert? Ish? Tracy, do you know the answer? So the question is, can we make a motion to table this these variance requests at this meeting
And then tell us when you're bringing it back.
and bring it back if it's acceptable to you in April? to
Well,
review?
no, April, the
What?
It's already
Are we
committed,
full?
though.
30th, April, yeah, but
we'd
I
have
still
to
have
do
to
the
run
same thing
legal
with-
notice.
Yeah, it's not enough notice. We'd have to go to May. Let's
How many days do you
say-
need for legal notice?
It has to run at least once 15 days. It has to run at least once 15 days prior to the meeting. So
So,
that would be,
and I don't know
I
how
don't
hard
have
it
a
is to put that out. If you put it out tomorrow, would that not be?
well, if they had everything to me tomorrow before noon, because then they cut off.
Well, he
So,
could
but
withdraw
if
it after that
if-
though, right? So if we put it in for April and he finds out that his plat is
Yes,
wrong, then he can withdraw at that point. But if it's correct and it's just clerical,
mm-hmm.
right, then we could do it in April.
If I can get the notice in there by noon, yes. So if everything's given to me and that's what needs to do, and I get it in by noon tomorrow,
Well, I guess I'm saying
Mr.
as
McCullough, can you
is.
do that?
as is presented here
Can approve it.
coming to April. And then if he finds out that it's not accurate, then he withdraws and it goes away until we go through the replat process.
We should have found out that it was accurate before.
Well, nobody pointed it out until today, so.
yeah,
Well-
and it very well, like you said, it may very just be the wrong file was sent over. I don't have the ability
no, I
to
definitely don't
look
wanna-
research, but I'm telling, the deadline for the newspaper is gonna be noon tomorrow. Even if it does move, the notice still has to go. So we have a lot of homework to do before noon tomorrow, if we're gonna take it to the April meeting. Now,
I think that Jack's talking to Robert, who's
yes, a city official.
a city official that would know what direction to go with that. And yeah, so we'll wait for a report back before we make a decision on how to move forward with this. And go from there.
So they're,
Coming back to,
We don't
Sure.
know that. So the question is do we have to have a new plat? If the plat was changed, which is what we see on our packet, then yes. But if that was a clerical error, then no.
well, we want to be sure that we do it correctly. This is as I said earlier, this is the first large development that we've had come to us, and we don't want to make any mistakes or set any precedents that other folks will expect.
Go ahead, Jack.
Basically, Robert's saying is that if the lots had changed from what was presented on the original plat, then yes, you will have to go back to but if the lots have not changed from when he went from 112 to 114, if I'm saying the numbers correctly.
Yeah.
If that has not changed, and he said if you could verify with your engineer.
Yeah.
And he actually said, if you could verify them within the night, then you could probably press on with this process. But if you can't, then this would need to be tabled until we can verify that. And what he's saying is, when this was done in January, was all the lot changes captured in that plat? And if it wasn't, then it would have to be replatted.
Yep, understand.
Okay,
So we just need to verify that.
we'll just need to table it for right now, so.
And just the,
So we do.
They have to
they have to confirm.
verify the data on the plats. They have to verify the data on the plats. The question is whether or not that process can be done by noon tomorrow, and that will determine our motion. Mhm.
But if he says no, then we still need the documentation, correct? Because what we have in front of us is two separate documents.
And what I'm thinking, if you could come back up. What I was thinking is, as you changed the lot square footage on A1 at 7,799, changed to, hold,
74 something.
where'd it go? Where'd who go?
I think that was.
This. Changed to 74.99. Then that would mean the plat changed. And that is what Robert's saying. If that did change, then we need to replat. Got it. So that answered I have answered my own question. Thank you so much. Sorry.
I'll entertain a motion to table items 4, 5, 6, and 7.
I move to table items number 4, 5, 6, and 7
Until when?
until,
Until next month, until April?
until we receive clarification of the plat.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Yes.